particle to start slowing down from a much greater distance out from its target. One of the standard operator features here, as per usual, we have the sync by flyout. And again, we can sync by absolute time, which is based on the timeline here. We can actually sync it based on the particle age, or we can actually base it on the event duration. And that will actually be applied to any of these values up here that you've actually animated. That chooses how those are applied. Before moving on, let's actually have a quick look at different combinations of these parameters here to actually see what they do. If I go back to the beginning and press play, and the first thing we'll do is we'll actually stop it there, and we can actually see our particles are, the first set of particles is set this target here, and you can see they've arced over and they've actually struck the target. Now if I move back a few frames, there we go, you can see we have this stream of particles here, and the next stream is already heading over to this target over here. If I decrease the speed, you can see the particles are now allowed to relax a lot more. And now, if I actually play, you can see they're allowed to get to their target very, very slowly. They only just about make it by the end of the simulation in some cases. If I increase that speed value, they'll get to their target much, much faster. There you go. So they actually shoot right to the target and strike right in there. Obviously, if I put this lower, I could change it so there's no variation whatsoever. And now, obviously, they all travel at the same speed to their targets, their respective targets. There you go. Next, we have the Excel limit, and that actually allows the particles to reach this speed at different rates. You can see at the moment I've got an Excel limit of 800, and that allows it to reach this speed very quickly. If we actually set the speed to be very high, and I give it a low Excel limit, there we go, you can see what actually happens is the particles can only change direction very slowly, very gradually. So if I press play, there you go, you can see they're fired way up into the air, as it were, before they're actually they actually can change their acceleration sufficiently to actually head back down towards their target. So if I actually decrease that even more, you'll see they just fly up a very, very long way, and they never really get to their target. We'd have to have a much longer simulation. So depending on how much you want them to actually seek their target, you may want to increase the Excel limit to allow them to achieve that. So as you can see, there we are, they're coming back down until they actually come in and strike the target again. So I'll just put that back to what it was. There we go. I'll put this up here. So now, there you go, and they come in and they strike. I haven't actually got any ease in at the moment, so let's actually just crank that up a little bit. Now you can see our particles are easing backwards along their trajectories, and that's because they're actually now allowed to ease in to their target. So I've got 100% ease in here. They fly up in the air, they come down, and as they come in towards their target, you can see they slow down. They ease into position. So you get a nice gradual ease into position. So that's all pretty cool, I think you'll agree. Let's move on to the next option, which is to actually control our particles by time. Now, when I choose this option, you'll notice that this control group here changes completely. You can see all the options actually change over. And that's because in this case, our control is actually time-based. So we are defining the time it will take for the particles to reach the target, rather than the speed that they're allowed to use to get to the target. Or you can actually define an absolute frame on which the particles will try and reach their target, and so on. Let's have a look at its options. The first option we have is the timing flyout, and you can see we have three different options here. We've got event duration, particle age, and absolute timing. So if we have a look at event duration, this is the default option, and in this case the particles will define the frame that they enter the find target event as frame 0. They will then try and hit their target by the value time in the time parameter below, which you can see down here. So with a time value of 20 or 30, as you can see we have here, a particle entering the event on frame 25 will try and reach its target by frame 55. So let's actually see if that's the case. Let's just play it through.